Maxie, I've been thinking, should we do season 3 on the Dr. Joe show? You sure? You sure it's a good idea? You know, that's what I'm talking about. So it starts off, somebody says, I hope Pete doesn't run into trouble as he did with LAT54. These look like awesome smokes. Wow, did this guy open a whole can of worms. He says he looked like awesome smokes, but he also had to throw in there that, you know, remember the whole Pete Johnson thing, LAT54, and, you know, the Fleur de Lis trademark Monte Cristo brand versus Tatuaje brand, and then Pete ended up winning because you can't trademark a symbol that's, you know, hey man, first of all, right there, you can just say that, well, you know, Cuba was ripping off Alexander Dumas. I mean, you know, like, come on. Anyway, it's going to get better than that. So, somebody else goes, is he serious? Does Pete have no shame in his wholesale theft of Cuba's ideas? Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention, if you haven't caught on yet, the LAT52, LAT54, LAT56, pigtail caps, same exact ring gauges, same exact sizes, even the presentation almost, it's based on the Bejique line. The Bejique Cuban Cohiba Bejique line launched in 2010. But the funny thing is, it's not like so many other companies that copy so many other companies, and he just did that. He openly admitted that the range is loosely based on the Bejique line, the sizes of the Bejique line, not the blend, but the layout. Anyway, then the next person goes, just meeting that guy, you realize he has no shame in what he does. Like I said, he says flat out that it's based on the Bejique sizes, the Bejique range. Sexy looking cigars, Pete, can't wait to try them. Somebody else goes, he's ripping off the Bejique, as if nobody got that already. Rubs me the wrong way. You know, you can almost tell how deep somebody is into cigars by the things they say. So, moving on, we'll get to that. Johnson has been somewhat vocal on Twitter about his thoughts on Cubans. They aren't the best, in parentheses. This seems like a fairly blatant attempt to continue that argument. Yeah, okay, so we'll skip that. Then Pete Johnson goes back to somebody. I'm only paying homage to the sizes of Bejique. Why not? They already copied my Cabaguan line, Cabaguan Guapo size, with a pigtail. That's been around far longer. The flavor, of course, is nothing like it, as I believe that newer Cuban cigars are still not comparable to what Nicaragua is putting out today. And Pete Johnson. So he's saying, hey, fucking Bejique line copied my Cabaguan line. So fuck him, I'm going to copy back. I'm going to make this L'Atelier line based on the Bejique sizes. So whatever. Then somebody goes, go Pete, you're creating some excellent cigars. Cuba can keep their cigars as far as I'm concerned. And then the next guy, who's already up there, Pete, you're joking, right? After you've ripped off the Cubans' ideas for everything from the use of jars to the limited edition bands and regional editions, let's not forget about your Cajonu book. Where have we seen that before? Fleur de Lis is a cigar logo? Can anyone say Monte Cristo? You blatantly steal their ideas for just about everything, and your excuse is that they copy the size of your cigar. Of course, you're going to say Nicaragua tobacco is better, as it's in your interest as a seller of Nicaragua cigars. But let's be honest for a second. If you truly thought that, you wouldn't constantly be using terms such as Cubanesque to describe the flavor of your cigars. Well, and that's where I'll end it. Because I want to get into that statement. Pete, you're joking, right? After you've ripped off the Cubans' ideas for everything from the use of jars to limited edition bands to regional editions, blah, 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 sizes, blah, 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 blah. Let me explain something to you. Butthole. Don't you realize that today's Cuban cigar market is based on all of the American market ideas from the cigar boom? Here's where I've gotten into this with people in email, and almost every person I've talked to via email about this has agreed with me in one way or another. Since we're talking about copying each other, I love Cuban cigars. You know that. You know that. The beginning of the Dr. Joe show is based on nothing but Cuban cigars. But I also love other cigars. I love Nicaraguan cigars, and a lot of times I'll smoke a Nicaraguan cigar that's just as good, if not better, than certain Cuban cigars. It goes back and forth. But when it comes to brand presentation and ring gauges and sizes and all of that, I have to say that the current Cuban cigar market is a complete fucking ripoff of the American cigar market. It's gotten to the point where it's just about complete. Habanos SA was established in 1994, right around the time of the cigar boom. People out there always go, Habanos SA, Habanos SA, Habanos SA, but they don't even know what Habanos SA is. They don't even know that it's only been around for 20 years. They don't even know that what it really is the sales arm of the Cuban cigar industry. Whereas Cuba Tobacco is the industrial arm, the work arm, the people who actually make the cigars. Habanos SA doesn't make the cigars. They're in charge of sales. And what do people in sales do? Promotion, advertising, everything they can to make sure their cigars sell, sell, sell. Is it any coincidence that they're born right around the time of the cigar boom? Don't you think they had American cigar market under a fucking microscope going, why is it booming like this? Why is everybody buying? What is everybody so interested in? And then all of a sudden, only 5.5 to 6 years later, not even that, really, because the cigar boom ends, let's say 96, 97, and things start coming together. So then not only 5 years later, all of a sudden, you look at the past of Cuban cigars. There were no limited editions. There were no regional editions. The closest thing to a limited edition was a box of standard cigars, standard type cigars, let's say Bolivar, any brand, stamped with a Dunhill thing, special selection. Or maybe, like we were talking about, the Hoyo Chateau line, and then the Davidoff Chateau line. But that was it as far as special editions go. The Cuban market is now flooded with nothing special edition, regional edition, and what do they all have? Double bands. Cuban cigars never had fucking double bands. Double bands is a completely fucking American idea. And then what else? If you have all these new special releases, they have to be special somehow. So how are they special? Unique and rare sizes. What kind of sizes? Short, fat ring gauges. All over the fucking place. Do you know there was hardly a fucking Cuban cigar over a 50 ring gauge? Hardly. 52. Cuban cigars still haven't hit 60. But they got up to 58 just this year with the Cohiba Supreme Robusto, the Robusto Supreme. It's all copycat shit. Let's get even deeper. We'll get a little deeper now. The whole idea behind aged crops and aged tobacco, making cigars from aged tobacco. I'm talking reserves, grand reserves. The boxes that people are buying for $1,500 for 20 fucking cigars when you can get a box of the same type of cigar, Lusitania's versus Lusitania Grand Reserva, that doesn't use a 7-year-old crop, and you get 25 cigars for $400 instead of $1,400. That whole idea is not Cuban. Cubans did not put aside stuff, age it for 7 years, and say, here's a $1,400 box of cigars, and it costs so much because of this specially aged crop. You know where that fucking idea comes from? Try someone like, I don't know, Padron, with the Family Reserve series. Well, Family Reserve later, but Padron with the Anniversary series, the 1964 Anniversary series, the 1926 Anniversary series. This is all based on aged tobacco. 1964 is 4-year-olds, 1926 is 5-year-old, and then the Family Reserve is 10 years old. 10 years old, and their prices reach about the same if you go cigar for cigar. Box of 10 cigars, you buy 2.5 boxes of Padron Family Reserve equals about the same price as a box of Cuban Grand Reserves. The whole idea of aging crops of tobacco and then making cigars out of them to charge exorbitant fucking prices using fancy boxes. You know, I don't mean fancy art. Artwork has always been in the industry. I mean big, heavy, black lacquered boxes with clasps and all that, and special and then fucking double bands with the silver and gold Grand Reserva and all that. And you're fucking buying bands, you people. You're buying bands. You're buying a fucking promotional idea. All of that shit. All of it was American cigars. Americanized cigars. American cigar market. Habanos S.A. might be best translated as Habanos Spy Academy. Okay? Because that's what they did. They put the cigar boom, the American cigar boom, under a fucking magnifying glass, and they kept that magnifying glass there until they learned every little thing that causes people to want to buy cigars. And that's what happened. So don't fucking blame Pete Johnson for copying. You know, maybe Pete Johnson's whole copycat, maybe it goes deeper. You know, maybe it goes even deeper than that. You know, Pete Johnson does everything. I got to remove the band here, and then we'll do our second, third. Pete Johnson does everything in the Cuban style. And you could say what you want about him, ripping people off, whatever, but let's just put it this way. He does everything in the Cuban style. The way he boxes the cigars, the bands, you know, right down to the clasps from Schmel, Germany, and well, that's not a big thing, but the box dates and the way his seal. You know, if you ever looked at we did that before on the show. Compare Cuban government seal to the seals on Pete's boxes of cigars and everything in the Cuban style. Maybe what Pete is actually mimicking is Cuba's practice of mimicking us. You know, so maybe it goes so much deep. Maybe it's a complete like mind fuck turnaround where he's not copying them. He's copying them down to their practice of copying us. If you understand where I'm going with that. You know, look, it's undeniable. If you know cigars and you follow cigars, it's undeniable. You cannot say that, oh yeah, all these things were things Cuba did way before the American cigar market. No way. Sorry. Big ring gauges, double bands, special releases, limited edition releases, all that kind of stuff. Aged tobacco crops costing tons of money and for special boxes of cigars and all of that. All of that is American market cigar sales strategy. Jars, as far as jars go, well, jars go way back, you know, and that's Cuban. But hey, the whole industry is you know, one thing is this. How about this? There's only so many ways you can make a cigar. There's only, you know, and you know, presentation becomes such a big part of it that people forget the most important thing. It's the cigar that matters. It's the blend that matters. All right? So after we do our second, third, that's going to bring me into another topic where we'll talk a little bit about cigar marketing, presentation, and where it's gone and where it's going and all that. But all these episodes will come together lovely because in our next cigar review, which will be Cuban as we do it here, Cuban, non-Cuban usually, I will show you just how far Cuban cigars have come in terms of entering the 21st century as far as promotion and advertising, boxing strategies go. And you'll see how Cuban cigars and American cigars are just, the line between them is almost becoming invisible as far as marketing goes, you know. So anyway, I'm so glad that we got to sit here and everybody got to copy each other, you know. Pete Johnson copied Cuba copied the cigar boom, I copied somebody's fucking comment section, and somebody's gonna copy me, and it's all just a fucking merry-go-round of copycatism, you know. And I think that's all I want to say on that, really. Hey, at least he didn't put the hologram on the band. And that's probably a Cuban first. That I have not seen in the American cigar market before the Bahique as far as introducing holograms to bands. But then again, it's really meant to be a counterfeit protection device, not so much a marketing device. Although, you know, it really works as both because holograms are fucking cool. American cigar market really doesn't have that same problem as far as counterfeiting goes. Not to that extent. So, that's that. But, you know, everybody has copied everybody right down to this fucking show, so I hope everybody is fucking happy. And as far as Pete Johnson saying Cuban cigars just don't reach the standards that today's Nicaraguan cigars are reaching, well, you know, one guy says he the same guy actually with all the opinions, he has to say that. Well, of course he has to say that. It's the same thing as me. I have to go. The Dr. Joe show is the most information-packed, informative, fucking entertaining cigar show on the entire internet. Of course I have to say that because I'm the fucking guy sitting here. You know? I'm not going to say somebody else's shit is better. I'll definitely say it's good. It's right up there. It's fucking great. But I think what I do is fucking, you know, Class A shit. I like it. He thinks what he does is Class A shit. He likes it. I got to tell you the truth, though. There are some good Nicaraguan cigars out there. And for you Cuban cigar guys who smoke nothing but Cubans, if you've never tried any, give them a try. But, you know, be careful because you pick up the wrong one. You can't just pick one out of nowhere and smoke it and say, oh, this is horrible, because there are some really bad ones, too. It all depends. Anyway, that brings us into our second third. This L'Atelier is just a great cigar. Second third, wonderful. Not much different from the first third, but now entering the final third, things are changing a bit. More spice, deeper, oakier flavors, you know. That sweetness is still there, and it's just tantalizing. It's really good. Very floral, very smooth smoke. A little more peppery through the nose now. Stronger. Getting stronger. It's delicious. It's just a dynamite cigar. You know, everything I've said about it, everything that can be said about it, I've said already so far. The second third, very much like the first third. A lot of Grammy flavors, a lot of sweet flavors. You know, some deeper honey type notes, I would say. You know, it's more spicy now. The second third really wasn't more spicy than the first. Like I said, it was very, very faint. But now we're picking up some pepper. Very floral, very perfumey aroma. Very, very floral through the nose. Very nice. Starting to burn a little through the nose. A little harsher than it was now. But throughout the second third, it was just great. Very cool smoke. Big puffs. Great draw. Picking up some more salt now on the filler. Definitely, in one sentence, the second third does not change much from the first third, but the last third, coming into it, starts to change up big time, gets a lot stronger. And we'll review that third in a little bit. But since we're on this run talking so much about brand presentation and the way cigars are marketed and everything like that, I'll bring something else to your attention. Say goodnight, Max.